Okay, so today we are going to start about Azure SQL database, um, uh, and we will understand the things. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so today we are going to start on the Azure SQL database. So, as we discussed previously, that if we are, if I'm talking about, say, uh, the type of, at a broader category, if I say uh, if if we discuss about, in the broader sense, that okay, what all different types of databases, so we can divide it in the two categories. One is the SQL database, and one is no SQL database. So when I'm saying no SQL database, simply because the SQL is the pioneer one, SQL has the popularity, SQL has lot of market capture already, and people know SQL well, whether it is a part of stored procedures, PLSQL, triggers, whatnot. So, so other than that, whatever it is, which is either based on CQL or based on any other, say, GQL or whatever. So those databases are part of another segment, which is no SQL database. Okay, so that's a simple, but it's a kind of big difference. Okay, now when we are saying MySQL database or Azure SQL database, so Azure database for MySQL is a relational database service, and definitely it is part of SQL category, which is because, for example, if it is Azure, Azure SQL or MySQL or Sybase or different type of databases fall under the SQL category only, right? Say, so the Azure database for MySQL is a relational database. So that is the second point. So all these relational databases, when we are talking about the SQL, so all the databases which support the SQL are normally, say, so one is SQL. So Azure SQL databases support, is falling in the category of SQL. Second, it is falling under the category of relational database. So perhaps you all have worked on relational databases, so you understand it well. I don't think that I need to explain about what is relational database. You all understand it, I assume it. Now, so when it comes to the cloud, it is based on MySQL Community Edition database engine, and there are different versions of it. So that you understand that it keep happening, that you will be having different versions. Okay, I started using a different software, and it is, perhaps it is better, but I need to be okay. So SQL relational database, that is second. Third is it is having MySQL database with underlying engine is the MySQL database, which is based on the Microsoft, and it has different flavors or different versions which are available on the cloud. So depending on your need, you will be able to use them. Now, the beauty of this is that it is having 99.99% availability. So, and it has not only the availability, but it has the service level agreement, which means that and this service level agreement from Azure, that it will be having 99.99% availability. Okay, and that is the SLA by Microsoft or Azure. Okay, next is it is having um, okay it is having Microsoft managed data center, which means that again most of the things are the overhead of the Microsoft, not us. It is again 24/7. When I'm saying 99.99% availability, that means it is working 24/7. So you will not have any downtime, and it is built in the security, fault tolerance, and data protection. So that is the guarantee, that it has the built-in security, fault tolerance, and data protection. Okay, so we can say that it is completely secure in terms of data, information, infrastructure, whatever information, infrastructure, it is secure. Next is you can use point-in-time restore. So in case if something got failed and you have some trouble in this, so it allows you to point-in-time restore. So this type of facility certainly you will not be able to get in no SQL category. Why? Because SQL is a very popular and years together. I mean, it is in the industry and it is a proven DB. Nobody can, nobody has doubt about the working of it, right? So it has point-in-time restore to recover a server to an earlier stage. So, and what is the limit? Up to 35 days back. So it always keep a restore point, and you can restore it to the image, which is like say the 30 up to 35 days, which is a long period enough for servers. Now Azure database for MySQL deliver high availability with no additional cost, predictable performance, and inclusive pay as you go pricing, which means the amount of time you are using this database and the number of instances of database you are using, accordingly you need to pay. So this is pay as you go. Scaling has no problem. Within seconds, it can scale. Ability to protect sensitive data at rest also and at motion also. So protection of the data either at rest or in motion is also guaranteed. Automatic backup is there. The backup headache is also not there. So it automatically allows you to backup. It also has the enterprise grade security and compliance. So when I say not only security but also compliance. So when we say compliance, that means all the regulations it support, right? So these are the key features of MySQL delivery. So you can understand that with these capability require almost no administration time, and all are provided at no additional cost. They allow you to focus on rapid application development and accelerating your time to market, rather than having to manage the virtual machines and infrastructure, blah, blah, blah. So you don't need to manage anything for the model, which is red model, it support that. You will be able to quickly do your things and in a very agile manner. In addition, you can migrate your existing SQL database with minimal downtime by using Azure database migration services. So Azure database migration services are very effective, particularly if you are going for the migration. So if I go in the next, so Azure migration services, we last time also discussed for the Azure migration services. So with the help of Azure migration services, you will be able to easily do your migration without much headache. Okay. So, and after you complete your migration, you can continue to develop your application with the whatever tools you are using, either open source or from Microsoft. So there is no hurdle in that as well. Now, how do we? And we also discussed last time the architecture. So here again, so the same thing applies. Okay, so we don't need. I have no idea why it is behaving like this. Okay, okay. So okay, in one of our class we discussed about um, the orchestration. How do we do that? And the same applies here. So I'm just going to repeat it once again for your memory. So suppose we can manage it either using, say you are having here okay, so suppose you are having Azure CLI. Okay, so we discussed about three things: Azure CLI, Azure portal, right? Azure CLI, Azure portal. What else? Sorry, what? PowerShell. Absolutely right. So whether it is Azure CLI, Azure portal, or Azure PowerShell, we will be able to use them. So let me copy it. So assume that we have Azure CLI, Azure PowerShell, and Azure portal, or any other custom management application. Okay, so there are four things. One is Azure CLI, Azure PowerShell, and Azure portal, and any custom management application. Okay, so with that you will be able to, so whatever it is. Okay, um, Not sure whether it will rewrite on it or what. Let me see. No, this will still be there. So text is still okay, but putting the graphics and images and drawing is difficult. Okay, let me select it, then redraw it. I think that's the best. So if I'm having Azure CLI and Azure, and maybe I can just select this. Yeah. So I'm having Azure PowerShell. Then I'm having, oops, where it has gone. Okay. Azure PowerShell. And then SHEL, sorry, whatever. Then I'm having Azure Portal. Okay. So Azure Portal. And then if we have any other management applications. So whatever it is, it get connected with a resource manager. So suppose we have one resource manager here, maybe a box down here, a big one. So it is having a resource manager. Azure Resource Manager. And from that Azure Resource Manager, we are having Azure Database Service Platform. So Azure Resource Manager is internally connecting to Azure Database Manager Platform. Okay. And then, so you are having, where it has gone? My goodness. Okay. So all these things are connecting, and then it is connecting to Azure Database Manager. So yeah, sorry, Azure Resource Manager, and that is internally connecting to what? Azure Resource Manager. And that is internally connecting to what? Azure Database Management Platform. And this is an internal connection. Maybe it do not have arrow, I don't know. Yeah, there is. Yep. So somebody has some question. Okay, no. So Azure Resource Manager is connecting to Azure Database Platform. And then from here, the service, the server provisioning and management. So, what this Azure Database Management Platform does, it does the servers, the server provisioning and management, and then it get connected to, say, for example, whatever be your SQL. Okay, so it connects to whatever be your server. Say your DB. So here is your DB. Okay. Okay. So this is your MySQL DB, and then this SQL DB get connected to, well, the database management tool. Say, for example, MySQL client and the your application. So this is a kind of structure. And since I am having like just the interest, just in the interest of time, I just thought that, okay, how we will be able to best show you. So this is how you are basically connecting to your database. Now, after this, let us understand about the Azure SQL managed instances. So Azure SQL managed instances is a scalable cloud data services. Okay, these are scalable cloud database services. Okay. So Azure SQL managed instance is a scalable cloud database service that provide the broadest SQL server data, database engine compatibility with all the benefits of fully managed platform as a service. So like Azure SQL database, the Azure SQL managed instances is a platform as a service. So both are like platform as a service, but Azure SQL managed instances you will use when you will be, when your need is not just to use a single database, but to have a need of multiple, similar databases. In case if your need is, say, scalability, okay, which means that your company will be able to take advantages of the best feature of moving your data to the cloud in a fully managed environment. For example, if your company will no, I mean, assume that your company will no longer need to purchase and manage expensive hardware. You won't have to maintain the additional overhead of managing your on-premise infrastructure. On the other hand, your company will benefit from the quick provisioning and service scaling features of Azure. So the provisioning will be easier and the scaling will be easier, and then it allows you for the automatic patching and version upgrade. Okay, so whether you talk about the automatic upgrades, so it has several different features. What these features are, we discussed about auto provisioning, because it has the scalability. So when you are saying scalable, scalability do not have any meaning if it do not support the auto provisioning, and that is the key feature of it, right? So and also automatic patching. So in case of any new patches coming up, so it allows you to do the automatic patching, automatic provisioning, and what else it allows you? It allows you um, version upgrade. So you don't need those headaches. Okay, so version upgrade it allows. Then what next? It allows you, 99 point again, in the same way as the basic feature of the Azure SQL. So it also provide you the 99.99% uptime and 24/7 feature, which is which is anyways with the SQL, right? So Azure SQL managed instance offer many of the same feature like the SQL, but the additional advantage here is that you will be able to scale your things or create the instances of your SQL in no time, right? And so the similar, the analogy which is similar to this is VM and VMSS, right? We discussed earlier. So okay, in the and in the same way, the Azure SQL managed instances offer all the features which we discussed on the SQL, but it also it support the faster scalability. Currently, in case if you are using uh, any of the servers or any number of the servers on premise, which are using SQL server, then if you can, in case if you wanted to migrate them, so you can easily migrate them using the SQL database instances. And it also support all different type of characters. So word over, in so in the SQL, the beauty is whether it is uh, whether it is SQL or Azure SQL managed instances, is that it supports what? It supports the okay. It supports the uh, you know all the characters of the word, in the sense that, so we might have heard the ASCII characters, right? But the new term which covers all the characters which are which are supported is, and that term is known as Silric character set. So it support all different type of languages, right, of the word. So it support this Silric character set. Okay. So that, any any language of the world, whether it is Central Asia, North Asia, East Asia, Europe, Eastern Europe, America, whatnot, every every all the people language, right? So it support everything. So there is no such limit that the character set is not available. Okay, so that means because it is a you know uh, when it comes to the databases need to have, I mean, need to store the data. They should be able to keep the data in the same character set, whatever is preferred by anyone, right? So therefore, I mean, this is a key characteristics of Azure SQL managed instances, or the SQL. Then next is the Azure SQL managed instances make it easy to migrate your on-premise data on SQL Server to the cloud using Azure database migration services, which we already discussed. Which is, I mean, the short form of this is Azure database migration services, are DMS, right? So it supports the Azure database migration services. And then after you have discovered all the feature that your company uses, you need to access which on-premise SQL Server instances you are migrating uh, I mean, your Azure SQL managed instances. So I mean, to avoid any blocking issue. So once you resolve all your issue, you can migrate your data and then cut over from your on-premise SQL Server to your Azure SQL managed instances. So that way, it will make your life easy in case if you are using the relational databases. Okay. Now, similar to this, similar to MySQL and Azure SQL, Azure managed, Azure SQL instance. Another service, another facility which Azure provides is Azure database for PostgreSQL. Okay, so that is also falling under what? SQL category, right? Because Postgre is also SQL. So Azure database for Postgre SQL. Okay, it also supports that. So it is also falling under the same. Maybe I can put it here. Maybe. So Azure database for Postgre. Okay. Now, what are the benefits of it? First of all, understand the difference between a simple database, which is SQL database, and the Postgre database. What is the difference between it? And then how Azure cloud support the Postgre. Okay. So let us first understand the Postgre features. So it is having the built-in high availability compared to on-premise resources. Any of the on-premise resource do not have that much high availability option as compared to your Azure SQL in the Postgre. There are no additional configuration, application, or cost required to make sure your application are always available. So no additional configuration in case if you are using on-premise any, I mean, your SQL database, your Postgre SQL database, you can easily keep the same configuration, the replication, and etc., and you will be able to migrate it. Next is the Postgre is your open source, so you do not have any cost associated. Next is that it is simple and flexible. Okay, so in case if you wanted to go for the paid option of it, PostgreSQL, the pricing is also simple and flexible. You have a predictable performance based on the selected pricing tier. Okay. Next is scale up or down as needed. No problem. Within seconds, it can scale up or scale down. You can scale compute. You can scale compute or storage independently, which means that maybe your compute is something else, and maybe your storage is something else, right? So you can keep them separate, and then you can scale them as you want. In case if you need more compute, you scale the compute, you don't scale your storage. In case if you need more storage, you scale the storage, you may not need to scale your compute, which means the things are separate. No problem in that. To make sure you adapt your services to match uses, adjustable automatic backup, okay, and point and restore. These are also the feature which we discussed as a SQL, right? So the same feature applies to Postgre. Enterprise grade security and compliance, the same as SQL. The SSL encryption and the security, whether it is in, whether your data is in transit or it is static. In both the ways, it provides you encryption, security. So encryptions is mainly used for when data is in migration, right? When data is moving. Okay. Then next is, and also data at rest. So in both cases, the encryption is important. Azure database for PostgreSQL is available in two deployment options. One is single server and one is hyperscale. So the two deployment options are single server or hyperscale. Okay. These are the two deployment options. What is the meaning of single server? We will discuss that. What is single server and what is hyperscale? Now, Postgre. Okay, what is Postgre? So SQL is a relational database, right? But what is Postgre? Postgre is, anybody know what is Postgre? What is the difference between SQL and Postgre? It is object relational database. It is not just a simple relational database. It is Postgre's object relational database. So this is Postgre's object relational database. Next is what? While SQL is purely a relational database. This means that Postgre include the feature like the table inheritance, the function overloading, which can be, which can be important to certain application. So Postgre also adhere more closely to the SQL standard. So therefore, it is SQL database. Okay, Postgre handle concurrency better than MySQL for multiple reasons. So in case if you are having the Postgre, the concurrency is better than MySQL. The it is having what? Object relational database. Concurrency is better than MySQL. So therefore, it allows you multi-threading and multi-programming feature. Okay. Then Postgre implement the multi-version concurrency control without read lock. Okay. So that is a kind of big feature which Postgre supports. So it provides what? Multi-version concurrency control. So with the multi-version concurrency control, without read lock. Okay, so you can have concurrent um, uh, flow of your data. Okay, so and there is no read lock. So yes, write lock is always there, but read lock is not. I mean, but read lock is not there. Okay, so Postgre support the parallel query plans. So that means, so I mean, with the help of this multi-version concurrency control means that it supports the parallel query plans that can use multiple CPUs, um, uh, cores, right? So the port, I mean, the Postgre can create. So therefore, it support multi-programming, sorry, multi-processing, okay, and multi-threading. It supports. So it supports the parallel query plan that can use multiple CPUs or the cores. Next is what? Postgre can create indexes in a non-blocking way. Okay, so the because in case if definitely in case if parallel query plans are happening, you need different indexes, right? You don't. With the help of single indexing, it will be cumbersome. It will not be possible. So therefore, the Postgre can, Postgre helps for the, can create the indexes in a non-blocking way. Parallel indexing, okay, concurrent indexing, I would say, and it can create partial indexes. For example, if you have a model with soft deletes, you can create an index that ignore records marked as deleted. So soft delete. So it says that, okay, the record is deleted, but it keep that as a ignorance form. Why? So that in case if two users or multiple users are reading that, assume that if one user has some deleted it, so with the help of the partial indexing, still it keeps that okay, because it has the soft delete. Okay, and until it is, until it will get committed that yes, everything is, everything is gone, right? So I mean, it supports uh, the partial indexes. Okay, so it supports the partial indexes. It can create partial indexes. What else? What else? Postgre is also known for protecting data integrity at at transactional level. So the data integrity, protecting data integrity at transactional level. This makes it less vulnerable to data corruption. So even if you are having your data is secure and it will not get corrupted because of protecting data integrity feature at the transactional level. Okay, so thereby this Azure database for Postgre gives a lot of features, right, which are very, very useful for um, for any database queries, right, or any database implementation, and particularly when there is a need of concurrency and the parallel processing and multi-threading, right? If you have such need, perhaps it is a good option to go for Postgre. Okay, then as I mentioned that it supports the two things. One is single server, right, and one is what? One is single server and one is hyperscale. So let us discuss about single server. Okay, what does single server means? Okay, now single server deployment option deliver built-in high availability with no additional cost, similar to SQL. Predictable performance, pay as you go, similar to SQL. Vertical scale as needed, not similar to SQL. SQL is more of horizontal scaling. It also allows vertical scale as needed. This is a very different feature altogether, right? Monitoring and alerting to access your server. Enterprise grade security and security and compliance, similar to SQL. Ability to protect sensitive data at rest and in motion, similar to SQL. Automatic backup and point-in-time restore up to 35 days, similar to SQL. But what is not similar to SQL is its key feature, which I mentioned here, and also the vertical scale. Okay, that is also a key feature. All those capabilities require almost no administration, and all are at no additional cost. The single server deployment option offers three pricing: the basic, general purpose, and memory optimized. Each tier offers different resource capability to support your database workload. So it has, based on your pricing, the cost differ based on your pricing. Okay, so the single server deployment option comes in three flavors: basic, general purpose, and memory optimized. These are the key features of single server. Okay, so each tier option, each tier offer different type of resource capabilities to support the database workload, right? So therefore, there are several different things as a part of the single server, right? Next is what? Now we will talk about hyperscale. So before I go to hyperscale, any question? Any question before I go to hyperscale? We have 10 minutes. Okay. So then let us quickly wind up hyperscale. So hyperscale is also known as Citus, right? So let us discuss hyperscale, Citus. So the hyperscale option horizontally scale queries across multiple machines. So not only your machine scales, it is like the query scales, horizontal scale queries. It horizontally scale queries across multiple machines by using shredding. So if somebody, if a user is sending a query, it sends it to what? Maybe I can say multiple servers. Yes. So okay, no problem. So horizontal scale queries across multiple machines. Okay. I think this is not needed. So it is horizontally scale queries across multiple machines. No problem. Using what? Shredding. Maybe this is the good place. Not there here. Okay. Next is what? It's it's query engine. So the query engine parallelizing the incoming queries across the server for faster response on large data sets. So whatever the incoming query is coming, it do the parallel processing of that. So incoming queries are going to multiple machines for faster response time on a large data set. It serves applications that require greater scale and performance. You can understand because it is for parallel processing, multi-threading, right? Generally workloads that are approaching or even exceeding 100 gigs of data. So there definitely, when we are having a large number of volume of the data which is coming and the workload are approaching or exceeding 100 gigs of data, right? So there we need this type of hyperscale or the Citus machines, okay, for the Azure SQL, okay. Hyperscale deployment options support multi-tenant applications, real-time operation analytics, multi-tenant application, definitely, because in case if we are not having, if in case if we are using a single tenant, we don't need the hyperscale. We only need the hyperscale when it is multi-tenant, right? And then it is when I say concurrent processing or multi-threading or parallel processing, right? Definitely, the need is the real-time operational analytics. So we need a real-time picture. So high throughput transactional workload application built for the Postgre can run distributed queries on hyperscale with standard connection. With standard connection libraries with minimal charges, right? So these are some of the key feature of hyperscale or Citus development, Citus deployment. So we can do the hyperscale or Citus deployment with the Postgre, right? So just a quick recap. So when we are saying Azure SQL database and Azure SQL, Azure SQL managed instances and Postgre, all three fall under SQL category. All are relational databases. Postgre is object relational database. SQL is simple relational database. When I'm saying object relational database means it allows you, table level inheritance, right? And the object because it treat everything, all the tables, your triggers or whatever, or your stored procedures or whatever, as a instance, as an object. So you have the feature of um, you have all the oops feature applied at an object level, right? Where objects are table, your stored procedures or whatever. So it is object relational database. It is not a simple relational database, right? Then with the Azure SQL managed instances, you can scale your data or in a very nice manner, right? And it support the Silric characters. But in case of the Postgre, although this Silric character is not mentioned in that, so I don't know whether it supports or not. But it allows you, I mean, but it allows several different key features, which are listed on this board, right? Now, next is what? With SQL, whether it is a SQL managed instance or whether it is a SQL database, which is MySQL. In both the cases, you can use Azure Database Migration Services. Very big feature, right? In both the cases, you have point-in-time restore. Even in three cases, whether it's a SQL managed instances or a Postgre, all these feature 99.99% SLA, right? 24/7 security, compliance, right? All those things are there. Particularly in case of Postgre, it it has the two type of deployment: single server and citus deployment, which is hyperscale or citus deployment, and it has the concurrency better than MySQL. It is having the multi-version concurrency control, MVCC, without any read log. So with the help of it, you can read, you can fire n number of queries, and those queries goes to the, in case if you are using hyperscale, it scales the query across multiple machines using shredding. Postgre can create indexes in a non-blocking way, even the partial indexes, and the protecting data integrity at a transactional level. It has the multi-tenant and the real-time operational, real-time operational analytics. Okay, so these are the key features. Okay, so we have done it for today, and we have covered most of the thing. I think now it is at the, we are at the top of the hour. So in case if you have any quick question, you will be able to ask. Otherwise, we will wind up the call. So hope you are enjoying, right? Anyone else? Yeah. So okay. So I request you. I think Arpita. Okay. Let me just quickly stop it.